Lately, critics have argued that Japan isn't producing that many new or exciting cinematic voices, at least not quite as steadily as it's done for the last 10, 20, well, 50 years, actually. Now, I still maintain that Japanese cinema is the most exciting in the world, but of course, I'm almost definitely biased. As a kid, I fell in love with the movies of Akira Kurosawa, and that romance has continued with the spectacular rush of delight served up by my personal heroes, Beat Takashi, the extremely extreme films of Takashi Miike, and such wonderful animated movies as Akira, Ghost in the Shell, and just about anything by the master, Hayao Miyazaki. So as for this alleged dire state of affairs, well, I don't know. Will even this dyed-in-the-wool Nipponophile feel that things have gone off the boil? That's what I'm here to find out. Sunomomode. As soon as I get off the plane in Japan, I know I've arrived at a place quite unlike anywhere else in the world. It's a unique combination of past and future, a visual bombardment that cuts right through the jet lag. So it's no surprise that being a land where every picture really does tell a story, Japan has been a leading style setter in world cinema since the 1950s. Japanese cinema has had a profound and lasting impact on the very language of film, but it's also had a direct influence on some of the most admired filmmakers in the West, many of my favourites and probably yours. The great Kurosawa, to name but the best, is a hero to such superstar directors as Francis Coppola, George Lucas and Quentin Tarantino. But is the new generation of Japanese filmmakers still providing that quality of artistic inspiration? I know it's hard sometimes for Western fans of Japanese cinema to remember all of the directors' names correctly, so I'm going to let you on a little secret I use. I learn the name and then think of some English words that correspond, and that's how I keep it in my head. For example, we're now going to take a look at the work of Yuhei Kitamura. Yuhei sounds a bit like hey you in reverse, and Kitamura, like more kittens. Although, I must warn you, his work is anything but of the fluffy and cute variety. In fact, even by Asian standards, it's about as extreme as it gets. "36-year-old Yuhei Kitamura embraces the West like no Japanese filmmaker before him. He doesn't build on the Japanese tradition, he rejects it, hoping instead that his highly accessible Western-influenced movies, such as his breakthrough feature, Versus, might be a calling card to Hollywood. Thankfully, I found one Japanese tradition he still embraces. A delicious okonomiyaki dinner. Arigatou gozaimasu. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I might need 2 of those. Yeah. So this is kind of quite cheap food, isn't it?
It came from the town called Osaka, western part of Japan. And I grew up in Osaka, so...
so it's popular there. Yes. Is it different there?
No.
Pretty much the same all over.
You should be more, rough. You're Englishman, so, you're too gentle.
Yeah. How do you say that? I didn't know I'd be working so hard tonight. Okay, is that good? Let's start talking about your love of films. You seem pretty much of the new wave of Japanese cinema. People who are as much influenced by American films.
Yes, I don't have much influence from Japanese movies. I grew up watching Australian movies or Hollywood movies.
As a teen, Kitamura left Japan to study film in Australia. His Western outlook is reflected in his movies and in the way he gets them made. The zombie gangster slasher action epic Versus was filmed sporadically over the course of 2 years and financed with handouts from his mates, just like a seat of the pants British or American indie. Not surprisingly, his hero is Sam Raimi, the director of Spider-Man, whose homemade first film, the landmark Evil Dead, was clearly a source of inspiration.
No, don't touch.
Don't I? Okay.
When I was making Versus, I decided only one thing, you know. Everything looks cool. It's in the movie. So there was no rule. And I always think about what is the vision that you haven't seen before. And you've seen zombies and you've seen the sword fighting movies, but you've never seen, you know, zombie fighting with swords.
After slipping into a minor French film festival, Versus was spotted by zombie horror fans who began beating the online tom-toms for it. Within 2 years, it had become an international cult hit. Is this the flipping moment?
Yes.
Okay, you go first and let me study your technique. This ninja flipping. Oh, yeah, see? Yeah. All right, let me try. Not bad.
Not bad. Don't push too much.
No. Kitamura's best film, Azumi, is a live-action adaptation of a popular manga or comic book about a young woman trained from early childhood to be the consummate assassin. Her mission? Kill for peace. If she can wipe out feudal Japan's grasping, battling warlords, she can unite the nation. Although, of course, she'll have to slice and dice through the colourful gauntlet of villains who stand in her way.
The comic book was so violent and so huge, so long story. So they tried to make the movie out of the comic book, and they worked for 7 years, and no other director made it, you know.
When you make a comic book film, normally the fans are the harshest judges, of course. They normally judge competitive. How did they react to Azumi?
Well, that was a big hit. Yeah, so that's why they decided to make a sequel. They just released Azumi 2.
In Britain, you know you've made it as a director when you're offered a Bond movie. In Japan, the coveted call concerns a series that has seen over 24 entries since its hero first emerged from the depths back in 1954. Let's talk about Godzilla. Gojira, as I believe he is known over here. To get the call to direct Godzilla, that's kind of, I would have thought, an important thing for a Japanese filmmaker, because I don't think in the West people understand quite how dearly Godzilla is held in people's affections. It really is. It's a big deal, isn't it?
Yes. Of course, I grew up watching all Godzilla movies, and the producer asked me, are you interested in directing the 50th anniversary Godzilla, and this is going to be the biggest and it's going to be the last. So, you know, how can I say no?
And so presumably there's a lot riding on something like that, because there's going to be a lot of interest, a lot of people judging it against other Godzilla movies. What was your plan? You wanted to make a modern Godzilla movie? You wanted to make it feel more like the old ones?
I wanted to make my Godzilla in some, you know, mixture of some nostalgic and something new. My favorite Godzilla movies are back in the 70s.
You like Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla,
yes,
That's my favourite as well.
Oh, really? Yes.
I saw that. Is that the one where he swims off at the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you want me to do it, then I want to go back to that period, you know, where the Godzilla has no rules.
In Godzilla, is that meant to be Joseph Stalin?